So now we have next option is wallpaper. You can select your wallpaper if you have any, and then filter panes. So this is for the text in the filter panes. You can see that these are your filter pane. You can increase it, all right? You can decrease it. So these are the filter panes associated with the page level filters. So we'll come to that later, which means if you have a lot of visualization appearing here in the canvas, but you want to keep some filters added to on all pages, okay, and some default filter for on this page, you can put it as a here, and you can enable this to be visible to the end users, or you can hide it. Okay, now we are done with the basic settings of your canvas. Now it is important to load some data. So for that, you can click on Get Data ribbon. So in Power BI, as I said before, you have a lot of inbuilt connectors. So if you click on More, you will enter the screen of all connectors where you have the categorization. If you want to load a file, you can choose one from it. If you are connecting to a database, you have n number of database, even I think including Soho is a recent technology company who's offering enterprise suite is also associated with this. All right, you have Snowflakes, you have SQL, you can connect to Postgres SQL, SAP, Oracle, and MS Access database, and whatnot. So if you're connecting to Fabric, which is Microsoft's latest cloud suite, I think it's called Power Platform. You have connectors like data flows, which is nothing but your online Power Query. You have warehouses, data marts, metric sets, KQL, and then Dataverse. Dataverse is called online SQL DB. And again, data flows has two generations, generation 1 and generation 2. You have data flows in Power BI, and you can create data flows in Fabric as well. In Azure, you have a lot of connectors in Azure. In online service, you can connect to SharePoint. That's again from Microsoft. You can connect to Zoho, as I said before, Databricks, and then a lot of other connectors as well. All right. So if you don't find any connectors here, which you really want to connect, then you can connect through an API. Okay. All right. So anyway, I think I would just pick one Excel file from my local folder just to expedite my explanation here. So I'm planning to load one, let's say one data set here. Okay, I'll click on open. The moment I click on that, I would be establishing one connection with that Excel file where I would see what are the different sources available or data sources available from that file. So I can start clicking the first one to see this is the data preview. This may not be the full list. So you can always refresh if you are not taking the latest one, or in between you have done any changes, you can always refresh and let load the data. However, what are these different things? So before this, I would like to open that data set in front of you. So you can see I do have three tables, three tabs, where in the first tab, I do have a decent data set, and I can see this is a table. Oh, how did I recognize this as a table? Means you can see the ribbon. So if it was not table, then I would not see table ribbon in the last. The moment I click inside, if it is a table, I would get the table formatting area ribbon, and I can see that this is called data set. Okay, that's fine. So that's why this is called a data set. So I would tell you about the differentiation between the different icons you are seeing associated with the name range. Okay, so you are seeing this thick blue color, dark blue color on top, which means that's a table. These two or these three are tables. When you're seeing this as without color, but you can see rows and columns or vertical and horizontal lines, which means that is a range, or it can be a sheet name. So, sorry, it is a sheet name. It's not a range. This is called range. So when you're seeing something like this without the blue color, that is called sheet name. So sales table. Let's go to the workbook and you can see this is called sales table, sheet 1 and sheet 2. So sheet 1, sheet 2, these three icons are same because they are called sheet names. Now you're seeing equally distributed horizontal lines and vertical lines, but you see a light blue color inside or in between, or like I said, centered to that icon, which means that is a range. So you have something called revenue, but it's not a table, it's not a sheet name, it is something called range. So let me see where exactly I can find that range. Maybe I do have it here. Okay, I'm not finding it. So let's click on it and let's get the preview. So this is called column 1. So from where exactly it is coming? And it has the value like 101. So if this is actually appearing as my revenue, okay, and this is the table column name. So I'm not sure why it is showing it as a separate. Anyway, this is not the data which I really need. Maybe I might have added as a separate column associated with the thing. Anyway, you can keep this as a junk record. Always prefer to load a data set which is in table format. Why I'm saying that? In table format, you will not have a junk record. So I will show you something like this. So imagine I do have a data here, and is let's say country, and then population, and then per capita. Okay, India, US, China, then Russia. Okay, the population is maybe, let's say, 1.4 billion, let's say 0.5 billion, 1.4 billion. Russia, maybe 2 billion. All right, per capita, I'm going to put some rand between, let's say, 10,000 to, okay, so let's say in USD. That's fine. I just need some random numbers. Okay, imagine this is my data set and I do have some junk records here. Okay, but my data range is here. I'm going to save this file in front of you and I'm going to load this. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to refresh here, and I do have a sheet 4, and you can see I'm getting these junk records carried into my data model of Power Query, correct? So I know that my data is starting from country till Russia, then towards right, I need only 3 columns. But why I'm getting this? So if you need a neat data to be transferred to your ETL or your backend data model, then you must select this data, click on insert a table, or if you want the shortcut, press Ctrl T in your Windows keyboard. Okay, now I'm selecting this and I know that my data set has headers. So I will simply select or check this checkbox so that it understands my data set has first row as my headers. Now, if I rename this as my data and hit enter, this name already exists, no problem. So this is my sample data. All right, so that name accepted. So if you want to rename any table, click outside and click again the table. You go to the table design and then simply type whatever the name without space, because table names are not expected to have space in between. So always use underscore or don't use, um, a space. That's it. So now, the moment you hit enter, that name will get saved into your table name. That's fine. So now, if I save this Excel file, then only I will get the latest change appearing here. Now you can see that sheet 4 is there still as a junk data, but I have this sample data, and you can see from the icon itself, I have that it has in a table format. You see that? Now I can load this data without any problem. That is good. Now, if you would like to load multiple data sources from your single Excel file, you can use this checkboxes and then load it. For example, for the time being, I'm gonna load, what is this, my data? So I'll simply click and get the uh, preview of it. Now, I think it is good to load even this. Okay, I will load this, and maybe probably what else? Let me see. This is fine. So this data, this data, this data, this data. I will click on transform data, because if you click on load, that means you don't have to do any ETL process. So what do you mean by ETL process? That's called extract, transform, and load, which means you have loaded a data, but that data is not ready. You still need to do a lot of sanitizing process, or processing, summarizing, grouping, or adding more custom columns. You need to maybe pivot, unpivot some of the things. You need to change the order of it. You need to choose only selected columns. So that is called ETL process, a very important data modeling technique. So in Power BI, what you're seeing here is the Power BI, the front face of the Power BI. So Power BI has a backend which is called Power Query. The moment you click on transform data, you will enter into the gateway of Power Query. But if you're selecting load, that means you are directly loading the data as it is, and you're doing some visualization on top of it. All right. So I'll click on transform data.